Okay, three, two, one. Okay, everybody, welcome to the podcast. We're ready to have a good time here on our next topic, which is Aikido and the spiritual. So we'll see how this goes. And of course, we have our same good buddies here. And go ahead and say hello, each person. I'll start with Aaron.
Aaron Bomer. I am from Oceanside, California, currently training in the park in Carlsbad during our coronavirus season. So thank you for having me.
Go
Steve
ahead.
Wasserman, Beach Cities Aikido, Seal Beach, California. Currently training in the park, and my wife sees this anymore. She's gonna have me sleeping in the park, but it's been okay. It's been an experience.
And Eugene Morales from Pro Sessions Aikido in Upland, California. Okay, guys, so I appreciate your time, and we're going to get into the topic here. And before we start, I just wanted to get a lead in. So I did a little research out there on Aikido and the spiritual, and it's not as in depth as I thought it was going to be, but everybody kind of had the same way of approaching it. So I'm hoping that we can go maybe a different angle on it and everything. But let's see what happens. The first topic that we're going to deal with is what do we mean by Aikido and the spiritual? And with that, also zeroing in exactly, what do we mean spiritual also? Okay. So let's see. Steve, you're up, man. First one in the pool. Go for it.
Just like, not necessarily just Aikido, but any love of an art, archery, the art and Zen of archery. That's a whole spiritual book in itself. I think I got the name right. It's spiritual can be broken down, I think, in different levels, from God-given to just Mother Earth given, to our own personal interpretation of something that's not concrete, something that's not measurable. That's spiritual. You can't measure how much spirit I have in something or you have in something. So it's the abyss. I mean, it's that's a tough subject, with that. There's different degrees. I mean, do we look at it? When does it become a spiritual art? Is it just because I sit there and I bow and I close my eyes for 5 minutes? Is it when I sit before class and I internalize it, visualize it, pray on it? Or is it just in being in the moment when I'm practicing Aikido techniques and I'm there and I'm totally present? That could be my spiritual side of Aikido. Or are we measuring the spiritual side from the past Aikido history and the senseis and from the Buddha days and Budo and all that stuff? Where do you carry it? Those are the kind of questions I still contemplate. Am I spiritual in it? Sometimes, I think. Do I want to be more spiritual in everything I do? Yes, that's being more in the moment. That's my spiritualness to me. So I'll let you guys kind of grab on that.
Yeah. That's a big elephant, man. I'm telling you. Okay, Aaron.
Oh, I hope I made sense there.
Yeah, well, it's a good question. And if I were to just start thinking about it, we have Aikido, and it's a martial art, and we have within that we have a physical side, where we're actually hands-on and doing the art, and we have this self-improvement, aspect of the Do arts that we've talked about. And then what Steve just mentioned, I think was one of the first things that came to mind for me in spirituality is I've heard it expressed as like being in the zone or in the moment or in the now, when every breath is coming and going, all of your senses are in tune. Maybe you're in a randori or your last exam or something, or you're having a really amazing moment on the mat where all your cylinders are firing, everything is going, your body's moving exactly how it's supposed to. You can see everything coming, everything is in time. To me, that's a spiritual moment as an individual. And those are that's when I think of for personally the spiritual side of my Aikido, it's going to be more along those lines. But if we look at maybe now, let's talk about Aikido as a Japanese art, Japanese traditions. Okay, now when we start talking in the world of Japanese traditions, spirituality, I mean, it breaks into an entire area, massive area that I'm not qualified to speak about. Japanese culture and spirituality. I can't, as an expert, talk about those things. Right. But from a spiritual side, you have traditions, you have things of that nature. You have certain things that you look up to, people, past history, things of that nature that maybe you bring that into some sort of a religious understanding or something like that. A lot of when we talk about spiritual within the terms of Aikido and Japanese arts, we're really looking at a base of Zen base, right? So that's an entire area I think that somebody could explore for a lifetime is that. So what do we mean by spirituality in Aikido? I mean, we could go in any direction, but to me, it's a mix of all of those things. Mm-hmm. But from a personal level, it comes down to being in that moment of understanding or seeing the light when you're on the mat and everything is just in perfect sync and everything is just perfect. Yeah. And it doesn't happen very often. Yeah, it only comes and goes so quickly where it's like that. And then you go forever before you have another moment like that. So to me, that's what it is personally.
That's so true, huh? When you get that and you're like, whoa, what was that? Yeah, we all had flashes of that. That's very cool. So I'm gonna throw something out and we'll play with it a little bit. So as I was researching Aikido, when people come and they talk about Aikido, they're usually saying, well, I like Aikido because it's a very spiritual art and like the principles that it has to be there. And I was meditating on that, and most of my younger students, meaning Q ranking, or people who are coming to me, very seldom coming in, hey, I want to learn how to kick some butt, right? That's usually almost never in Aikido. But I do have a lot of them saying, I do like the spiritual aspect. So I'm going to propose this out here. What is it, and I know it's a hard one to wrestle around, what is it exactly that separates the Aikido from what religion can bring, what faith in something can be? And what I'm leading to is this, that everybody likes love, peace, harmony, joy, compassion, all of these, right? Yeah, but technically you can get that without ever doing Aikido. And a matter of fact, you can probably get that, a person bringing that to almost any art, except for maybe someone who just decided, I don't care about people and I just want to destroy them, right? Very small, maybe group.
Right. So the spirituality is like, as I see it, it's kind of the path you're walking is towards spirituality, and do we ever get there? But if you're taking a religious path or a martial arts path, or I'm not putting martial arts practice on the same level as somebody's religion, but I'm just saying that these are paths to some sort of sense of spirituality. I would offer that.
Yeah, very, very cool. So let's play with that a little bit. So I'm trying to frame this question based off what you're sharing right there. So if we were to try to zero in on it and say what separates Aikido's spiritual versus maybe other arts spiritual, because I did on my research, I see a lot of people kind of like, what is this spiritual stuff? And most of the time on the ones I heard on YouTube was, well, Aikido is love, peace, harmony, and when you train, this beautiful flow comes out, and it's all beautiful, very pretty words and everything. But exactly what does that mean in the essence that why can't you get that in another art? And just to throw it out there, I'm thinking maybe, and trying to stay, because Aaron opened a great path. He's saying, well, that doesn't necessarily mean spiritual, right? And that's totally true, So I'm going to try to narrow it in a little bit. is that most arts don't want to, do they take care of the uke? Right? We're kind of saying the big thing about Aikido is that we're looking to take care of the attacker, right? Versus other arts, are we saying that they are not looking to take care of the attacker? Is that zeroing more into the spiritual aspect? Because I'm still lost when we still say it's a spiritual path. Well, that's in all art. So it's so open, so wide, So how can we claim anything that in Aikido that it's a spiritual art?
Can I jump in on that one?
Yeah, go for it, buddy.
We have, in Aikido, we have, these, we have focus. We focus on, in particular times, we're focusing on breathing. We're focusing on our form. We're focusing on our posture, right? We're focusing on our balance. We're focusing on, these sorts of things that it's not crushing something or destroying something. It's like, it's focusing on these details that take a lot of it takes a lot of focus to understand where your balance actually is. If you truly want to think about where your balance is, it takes a minute. If you think about it, where is it, and so Aikido, with your breath and timing and things, not all schools teach all of this stuff, or they don't put the level of import on some of this stuff, and others do. But I think when you're thinking in terms of, calm breath, meditation, things of that nature, I think when we're talking of those things, I think the general public is thinking, okay, that's what I mean by spiritual, and then when you apply again, some of our Japanese traditions, and some of that, with etiquette, and again, focus on the etiquette and the structure and form of that etiquette, right? Now it's like, well, that's what I mean by spiritual, because I'm focused, and I'm and others, it may just come down as a light, a light from the sky. But that's where I would say more the spiritual, when the public is saying, considering things in the form of spiritual, and they're looking at a martial art to fulfill that spiritual definition, then these are the things that I think it's at least a start to a discussion on some of the things that I think we're looking at or we're talking about.
Very good. Excellent. Steve, go ahead, buddy. Chime in.
I definitely partially agree with Aaron. I think Aikido kind of leads the way, as he mentioned, for the potential spiritual side. But there's other martial arts out there that are just as and more spiritual. Depends on, your organization, who's leading it. In Krav Maga, we were very spiritual in the group, as a way of harmonizing. There was a big whole thing on that. It's all relative to the dojo itself and the organization. But I think anything can be spiritual in any art, how far the person's going to take it. I mean, Aikido just means way of harmonizing the spirit. That's can pertain to, somebody cooking in a kitchen who just loves cooking. I'm harmonizing my spirit. That's just as spiritual as someone in the arts. And we mentioned about the balance and the extension and paying attention. Well, in some of the strong martial arts, any art, they pay attention to those things too. We're just so heavily involved in Aikido because it's our art and our life right now, and it's got just so much to offer when it comes to all those things, because we're also in it for a while, and we see the whole potential of each one of those things.
Right.
If I want to kind of take it to a little different subject, with that, we mentioned the spiritual portion. That can cause, depending on the spiritual and where you take it, it can cause conflict and